Did you see that one of those right-wing trans ladies started feeling regretful of her grifting? A 3-minute Twitter video filmed in a car. Wow, this must be sincere. People are talking about this video. 1/3 views. Okay, sure. I'll take a look. I'll bite. Is Naomi the woman who said abortion is worse than slavery? No. This is the woman who said abortion is worse than slavery. Kelly Cadigan. Naomi was the person arguing against that.
You know, growing up, I always wanted to be friends with the people who hated me, just because I wanted to be seen as normal so bad. And I almost feel like I kind of never grew up. And even in my 23-year-old self, I still feel like I'm that 15-year-old that's constantly looking for validation through not just cis biological people, whatever you want to call it, but just through Republicans.
Okay, what am I doing here? If I release a video on my thoughts on this, I will be bringing a enormous amount of attention to something that might have not otherwise gotten an enormous amount of attention. We need a goal going in. Let's be responsible. Okay, so I'm not going to go over all of it, but a lot of the stuff this bitch has said has been pretty dumb, pretty hateful too. She's also come across as pretty dishonest to me. Like not sincerely right wing, but more of just a grifty type of whatever. I I haven't looked that much into her. That's just the impression that I've gotten. And she's, you know, she's trans obviously, so her being right wing is kind of a not a self-interested thing, at least not in a broad political sense. So people, I've seen some people say, because I saw people tweeting this, I didn't watch the video myself, that it comes across as sincere. Now, I want to be clear, all right? I have always been, in my opinion, one of the only large people on the left who sincerely believes in the concept of rehabilitation. At the same time, you know, you can never really know if a person is lying, and she's not given me much to trust her on, so I don't know if I'm going to come away from this thinking, oh, maybe she's had a turnaround. I don't really know. So I'm just watching. Like, I'm not coming into this with some, like, definitive, prescriptive set of things to say. I want to see what she has to say. We'll go. Use this as kind of like an object lesson in the politics of rehabilitation.
In general. And I don't know why. I think it's through me just needing to feel accepted, wanting to feel like I'm cared about by people who don't want to care about me. I don't know why I've always needed that.
Oh, the only context I'm aware of is that I have seen a bunch of tweets of her arguing with right-wing people. I think she said something along the lines of like, you know, hey, I'm trying to reach out to you guys, but can you stop calling me a trans-identified male? I'm a woman. And guys, you're not going to believe what happened after cultivating a right-wing audience.
And I think I'm coming out of it because I've just kind of been thinking a lot about the people I talk to on Twitter and the things they say to me, like calling me a trans-identifying male or a man. And I don't know why I want these people to accept me. I don't know why I care about what they think. And I think I'm starting to care less. And it's funny, when I was a kid and this happened, my friends that were my friends, they didn't want to be friends with me anymore when I started treating them like crap to try to be friends. Sorry, my phone died. But my old friends, they didn't want to be friends with me once they found out I was ditching them to try to get in with the cool crowd.
That's how you know she's a woman. Right there. I think the phone died. Sorry.
And it feels like if the same thing's happening again. I ditched the left to talk about how I felt on the right, and I think I'm just starting to see the reality that, like, the people on the right don't actually care about me.
My immediate impression of this is that this is actually pretty sincere sounding. I mean, obviously, I can't know for sure, and I'm not an expert on human behavior or anything like that. Um, normally, in my experience, this is like a very general rule. This is like a very general rule, okay? But insincere changes of heart, insincere turns of belief, whatever, when talked about, when expressed, are usually superficial in the sense that they describe changes in belief or opinions and feelings on groups that they're leaving or joining. But more sincere expressions of a change of heart are about like the underlying psychological reasons of why you had that belief to begin with. So I think a good example of this would be like with Hunter Avallone, right? Hunter Avallone, obviously, he was conservative, then he became a liberal. I talk with him. I don't talk with him much anymore just because, that's life, but I hope he's doing well. But when he would talk about it, it wasn't just like he made this one big, like, bombastic, highly monetizable video where he was like, I'm leaving the right because the left, da 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 da. Always monetization on the mind for some people, but not with him. And this doesn't come across as that either, Just my opinion.
And the people that did care about me and did want to support me, they don't want to take me back. And I can't even blame you guys because of all the awful things I said. I said so many awful things. All because I just wanted to be accepted. It felt good.
There's one other thing that I want to add too, and it's that this comes across as a dig to her. I don't know how mentally stable she is. This isn't about her being trans, by the way. I mean like just mentally stable. Sometimes people who are not mentally stable will be accused of being dishonest because their positions and behavior will vary or flip-flop or kind of like oscillate, when people don't recognize like that can be a part of the sincerity. You know what I mean? In my experience, oftentimes when people make like a short, rapid set of statements or express their beliefs or just act in ways that kind of like vary a lot, oftentimes that's just because they're not that stable of a person, more so than because they're doing some kind of like four-dimensional chess hypergrift. Now, I don't know if she's doing that here. I'm just saying, like, stability is a factor when it comes to, the general growth of a person, I think.
It felt really good, like, being seen by a lot of, like, right-wing creators I used to watch, and I felt like I was one of them. I felt like I was going to be, like, Candace Owens and get my own show on the Daily Wire and be a pick-me and own that title, and it's just all, like, for what? Even if I did, like, get major success, it would all just be so fake and full of hate, and I just don't know how I got here.
Why would you want that? Well, she kind of said at the beginning that she wanted the people who didn't like her to like her, right? That's a pretty normal human behavior. That's a pretty normal thing for a lot of people, especially insecure people, to do, Now, you can take me as a counterexample. Clearly, I don't care because I'm hated by an enormous number of people, and I have clearly given up on the idea that some of these people can be changed in their perspective on me. But if you can imagine a young trans girl or a member of any minority group, you go online and you see a lot of discourse. You see a lot of people of your group acting silly, which is always the case. That's always, doesn't matter which group you're a part of. If you want to look for members of your group acting silly, you can find it. And then you see a lot of people on the opposition who are attacking your group broadly, categorically. And you think, well, I'm not like those other people in my group. Maybe they'll be able to listen to me. Maybe they'll, see reason. Maybe if I show them that not everyone from my group, from the group of trans women, is like that, maybe I can change their mind a little bit. But that kind of behavior, that pick-me behavior, leads to you getting denounced by the left pretty quickly for obvious reasons, because you're trying to appeal and capitulate to people who hate you. But if you're maybe not that, politically savvy, or if you're kind of naive or whatever, you might interpret this as the left behind you, the majority of your group of trans women, being hateful towards you for having the bravery to reach out, whereas the right, while misguided, is willing to have an actual honest dialogue. It looks like she might have been corrected of that notion when trying to have an honest dialogue with them about calling her a woman. You understand what I'm talking about? I don't think what she's explaining here is unreasonable in human psychology. It seems like, I mean, I've seen it happen a lot. And sometimes people fall into that fully, and sometimes not. Somebody said earlier, was it Any, or was it Any who said it? About Blair White? We talked about this earlier in a GC, but IMO, there can never be another Blair White. They don't need a second one and won't accept another one. Yes, I agree with that completely. There is the Republican dialogue is no longer in a state where they're looking for pick-me turncoats to be shields. The GOP does not want trans people in their audience, you know? Trump held up a pride flag in 2016, the LGBT for Trump. He's not going to do that again. They have moved past the pretending to want the reasonable ones from your group stage of consolidation and genocide. So, well, you know, maybe in a way that's going to be a good thing for her, because if it was, I don't know, 5 years earlier, she might have found a right that was more willing to accept her, and she might have not had a wake-up call. I don't really know. Where have we gone from here? I scrolled down from this video that was released yesterday. She's arguing with the offensive... I know this account. I may be a hypocrite, but at least I'm genuine with how I feel in every moment. This is my social media. My transition was about more than my looks. I don't know about you. Arguing with people. Everyone telling me to get therapy needs to understand that I had a therapist for years and got nothing out of it. That's why I stopped going. I got the paperwork I needed for my surgeries and left. I went through an entire gender reassignment surgery without a therapist. I'll be okay. I have a lot to say today, clearly. I've changed my stance on what age is appropriate to transition.
I do think it makes me a hypocrite. So I made a mistake. As someone who did transition at 15 years old, I do think it makes me a hypocrite to take the stance that no one should be able to transition until they're 18 years old.
I agree with that.
I will say, when I gave that opinion, I was doing it with the mindset that I was protecting children. That's really what I thought, because I was seeing like many videos of people that transitioned as minors detransitioning when they became adults. And I now realize that my page on Twitter is definitely more right-leaning, and I made it that way. So of course I'm going to see more videos like that.
Guys, I don't know. That comes across as a pretty sincere rebuking of the argument right there. Normally when people are doing a superficial, insincere, I've changed my mind, they don't deliver a convincing counterargument to their previously held position. That's a pretty convincing one.
And I've done some research, and I want to share it with you. So some of the right-wing people on Twitter were saying that, you know, over 98% of kids who had gender dysphoria.
Oh, she's gonna. We've talked about this before, guys.
End up growing out of it once they go through puberty. And when I Googled that, I found this document that did say that. I believe it says 94%. But here's the thing. This is from Texas, the government of Texas. So I can't help but feel like this is a little biased. Because when you go to this study from the National Library of Medicine, it claims that puberty blockers actually are safe and have great outcomes for transgender youth.
An additional counterargument is that when you hear stats like 98% of trans children grow out of it by adults, or gender dysphoric children, what they're normally doing is citing studies where they interpret any sign of gender nonconformity as being a diagnosed case of gender dysphoria. So the argument they're making is, oh, all these kids with gender dysphoria, just let them grow up and it'll go away. That's not true. For people who are diagnosed with gender dysphoria, that is absolutely not the case, which is why regret rates for trans hormones and therapy and such are so low. What they're basically saying is, oh, look, your 8-year-old boy Timmy picked up a Barbie doll once, but then he grew on to be a man. I guess gender dysphoria is not real, you know? So they're deliberately lying about the criteria. Yeah, unorthodox monkey, but Rob Noor is like an NPC, so there's not much of a point in talking to him.
And even though I still do feel the way I do about puberty blockers, because, you know, at 15 years old, I did make the choice to go on them without going to a bank. And now I don't have the option to have a biological child in the future. But when I Googled it, it does say that they're overwhelmingly safe, usually. Now, when you do Google it, you do see there are some side effects. Like, just because I'm not on the right anymore doesn't mean I'm not going to be open and honest with you guys. Like, these are the possible side effects to taking puberty blockers, especially as a minor. But I will say, as someone who did transition at 15, I was on Lupron for almost like, what, 5, 6, 7 years? I don't even know.
Wow. Man, the young shits really do like to kick the ladder out.
And I never experienced any complications. Truly, the only thing I regret about going on hormone blockers as a minor was not putting my stuff away in a bank. Even though I can look back on that and think, yeah, you know, I was young to be making that choice and now I have regrets because of that. I also have to understand that those puberty blockers did save my life as a 15-year-old. And as a 15-year-old...
What does bank mean? She means sperm bank. If you get on a hormone block, does that... if you go on puberty blockers at 15, okay, at 15, I can only speak for myself, but I was definitely capable of siring children at 15, and probably quite a bit younger than that. By 15, you could definitely put stuff in a sperm bank, but if you're on if you're on puberty blockers for a while, and then you got off of them, I think you could do it again. I think the only thing that permanently keeps you from being fertile is if you're on estrogen for long enough. Or is there a way to be on puberty blockers long enough? I'm not sure. At any rate, I'm pretty sure that doctors are pretty clear when talking to you that this is something you should consider.
Year olds, I did make the right choice. Do I wish I went to a bank? Yes. But in terms of my gender, I became who I am and look the way I do right now because of those blockers. And it's so hypocritical of me to tell children that they shouldn't have access to those blockers as well. Not necessarily children, because
This is a reminder to trans women in chat to voice train. Quit being lazy, you stupid piece of shit. All right, continuing.
Still think you should be older. But maybe we should start making it so you have to be like 14, 15 years old before you can get on blockers, because that's when puberty does start. And you should have tons of therapy, see a therapist and a psychiatrist before you go on any medications. My opinion's changed, and I'm sorry to you guys for being a hypocrite.
Guys, I don't know. These videos come across as rather sincere to me. I'm not magic. I can't know for sure if a person is being disingenuous. Now, how much do I care about her specifically? I don't. I don't know that much about her, apart from the little bits that I've seen online, people complaining about her. So this isn't really about her. But I do think it's important to have a well-developed capacity for accepting the possibility for people to change in the positive. You understand what I mean? Whether or not you care at all about her, it's about it's about you know, being willful enough, being mindful enough to always keep in mind people's ability to grow.
You know, I'm starting to think I have an act for getting everyone to hate me.
I'm sold 100% of ex-right-wingers tend to anchor with empiricism as a way of coping with their recent breakdown of their perceived reality. That's actually a good argument. An insistence on empirical study as like a loop around, you know, like, because you want to justify both to yourself and to other people why you've changed your mind. You don't want to make it seem as though you're just flip-flopping, like you want to concretely root your... Yeah, it's true, that's true, that's true.
I'm quite good at it, honestly. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to do the wrong things. I don't want to be embarrassing. I don't want to be hateful. but I was hateful. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because, like, genuinely, like, I don't know what to do.
She could stand to go see some a therapist, maybe. She probably has the money for it. In the middle of my manic episode. Oh, so she agrees. Nice. Okay, well, you know. It does seem like a decent number of people are being fairly supportive to her, so that's nice. If you give up on the ability for people to change, you give up on the revolution, you know? A majority of people in America may have lukewarm positive beliefs on transgender people, but radically positive beliefs on trans people, racial reparations, communism, whatever. That represents a small minority of the country in every case. If you think people can't change, then you're giving up on everything good, really. Think you could talk to her? I wouldn't be opposed, but I think she should take a couple of days to level out a little bit. I wouldn't want to talk to her while she's feeling, you know, mentally unstable. A lot don't, Alec Gunter. That's true. A lot don't. She likes attention. I'm sure she wouldn't mind. Liking attention isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know. I like attention, obviously.